High up in the quiet mountains, far away from any city or town, a boy named Krog lives with his family. But Krog is not like any ordinary boy. He has a secret, one that would shock most people if they ever found out. Krog can change into an animal. Most of the time, he lives as a puma. He runs through the forest, hunts in the mountains, and moves through the wild like he was born to it, because in many ways he was. He can become human whenever he wants, but his family doesn't encourage it. They prefer him to stay in his animal form. It feels safer that way, and safety is everything to his family. Because of one strict rule that every member of the family follows without question. Never go near humans. Never. Humans are dangerous, his family believes. Unpredictable. That is why they live so far up in the mountains, hidden from the world below, far from roads and cities and people. But one day, Krog makes a decision that changes everything. He breaks the rule. He leaves his family behind and walks down from the mountains and into the human world for the first time in his life. It doesn't take long before a kind couple finds him wandering alone. To them, he looks like nothing more than a lost, confused boy. Feeling sorry for him, they decide to take him in. They adopt him, give him a warm home, his own room, and even siblings to grow up alongside. For a while, everything feels surprisingly normal. One morning, Krog sits at the breakfast table with his new family, eating and watching the news on television. The report is unsettling. There have been a series of mysterious animal attacks happening across different areas. Animals behaving in ways they shouldn't. Strange incidents involving different species in places they don't belong. Nobody has any explanation for why it's happening. Krog puts down his fork. Something about this news feels familiar to him in a way he can't quite explain. A quiet unease settles in his chest. Later that same day, Krog gets ready for his first day at his new school. He says goodbye to his adoptive father and siblings, and climbs into the car with his adoptive mother, Anna. His sister Melody decides at the last moment to come along for the drive. She doesn't want to miss it. As they drive through the countryside roads, Krog notices something strange outside the car window. Two black crows are flying above them. At first it seems like nothing, but they don't leave. They stay with the car, following it, matching its speed, never falling behind. Krog watches them and can't look away. A thought forms slowly in his mind. What if those crows aren't really crows? What if they are like him, shapeshifters in animal form, watching from above? That night, the family stops at a small hotel along the road to rest. Krog hopes the strange feeling will pass by morning. It doesn't. Late that night, a noise pulls him out of sleep. He walks quietly to the window and looks outside into the dark street below. His breath catches in his throat. A pack of wolves is running fast down the road, disappearing into a dark alley. At the same moment, the lights in the building directly across the street go out all at once. Krog steps back from the window. His heart is hammering. He knows this is not normal. The next morning, the family gets back on the road and drives for several more hours until they finally reach their destination, Clearwater High School. The moment Krog steps out of the car and looks around, he freezes completely. The two black crows that followed their car the entire journey are standing right there in the school courtyard. But they are not crows anymore. They are students. Krog's instinct had been right all along. Before he can process any of it, the school principal, a woman named Lisa, walks toward them with a warm, welcoming smile. She greets them all and then looks at Anna with gentle curiosity, asking how she had come to find Krog. Anna tells the story quietly. She explains that when she was working as a social worker years ago, she received a call about a child in danger. She followed up and found young Krog, frightened, shaking, completely alone. She couldn't leave him there. She took him home, and eventually she and her husband decided to officially adopt him. As Krog grew up, he always seemed different, like he didn't quite belong in the city. When the time came for him to move to a new school, Anna received a letter inviting Krog specifically to Clearwater High. She believed with her whole heart that this place would finally help him feel like he belonged somewhere. Lisa listens carefully and then nods with a smile. She asks to speak with Krog alone for a moment. When they are away from the others, Lisa tells him the truth directly. At this school, every single student is a shapeshifter. Every teacher, everyone. Krog does not have to hide what he is here. Not ever again. For the first time in his entire life, Krog feels something he has never felt before. He feels like he belongs. But before that feeling can fully sink in, the school alarm suddenly goes off. Lisa rushes outside to check and finds Anna and Melody wandering calmly through a restricted area of the school campus. She is not pleased. She quietly orders her assistant to escort them off the grounds immediately and reminds them that certain areas are off limits to visitors. Inside the school, Krog is completely amazed. shapeshifters everywhere, walking through the halls, sitting in classrooms, talking to each other like it's the most natural thing in the world. He has never seen anything like it. As he walks through the corridors, he suddenly comes face to face with a group of students led by a boy named Jeffrey. The tension is instant. Both sides go still, eyes locked, the air between them thick. It feels like something is about to break out. Then, a student named James steps between them and cools things down before anything happens. Later, the school holds a welcome ceremony for Krog. When it ends, Anna hugs him tightly and says goodbye. She and Melody walk back to the car. As they leave, a man named Andrew arrives at the school. Andrew is wealthy and powerful. He is the person who funds Clearwater High entirely. Krog meets him shortly after. During their conversation, Krog opens up about something personal. He tells Andrew that he left the mountains because he felt there was more to life than just being a puma and running through the forest forever. If he had stayed, he would never have discovered who he truly was or what he was capable of. Andrew listens carefully and says nothing, but he remembers every word. Later, Krog settles into his dorm room. Lisa explains the school rules and leaves. A moment later, a squirrel appears at the window. Krog lets it in and immediately realizes it isn't a real squirrel. It's a girl named Holly, one of his new classmates. She has been assigned as his guide, and she will be helping him in his first transformation class. In class, the teacher is serious from the very beginning. The rules are clear. Students may only use their powers during official lessons, and under absolutely no circumstances must any human ever see a shapeshifter transform. It is the most important rule of all. Krog is chosen to demonstrate his powers in front of the class. But before he can do anything, a large student named Brandon steps forward. Brandon is a bison shapeshifter. He shifts into his animal form, but almost immediately loses control. He can't hold the transformation. The chaos in the room makes everyone step back. Watching Brandon struggle makes Krog feel uncertain about himself. He feels disconnected from his animal side in this setting. He decides not to transform and steps back. Lisa helps him. She guides him gently back through his memories, running free through the forest as a young puma, his real family beside him, the mountain air, the wide open spaces. Those memories hit something deep inside him, and with that reconnection, Krog transforms. The principal then tells the whole class to transform at once. That's when Krog looks around and realizes something that surprises him. Most of the students here are wolves. Lisa explains to him what his real role at this school could be. He will learn to balance his human side and his animal side completely. And one day, if he succeeds, he could become something rare and powerful, a bridge between the human world and the animal world. That evening, Krog sits in his room trying to absorb everything. Then Brandon shows up at the door and casually announces that he is Krog's new roommate. Shortly after, Holly knocks and tells them both it's time for dinner. In the cafeteria, Krog meets a boy named Dorian who can transform into a cat. Dorian tells his story with a laugh. Before coming to Clearwater, he had lived as a pet with a human family. Everything was perfectly fine until the day they caught him using his hands to open a can of sardines. That was the end of that arrangement. After Krog's transformation in class, many students begin to respect him. But some are also a little afraid. His presence as a puma makes the smaller, weaker students nervous just from standing nearby. One small boy, who can only transform into a tiny horse, tries to move through the school quietly and unnoticed, but he walks straight into Jeffrey and his wolf pack. The situation turns dangerous very fast. Krog steps in without hesitating and protects the boy. This only makes things worse with Jeffrey. The wolves try to intimidate Krog, but James shows up again and breaks it apart before it escalates. That night, Krog dreams about his real family back in the mountains. Then a loud crash jolts him awake. Brandon has transformed in his sleep and destroyed his bed completely. He laughs about it and tells Krog it happens once or twice a week. Krog stares at the wreckage and realizes peaceful nights are not something he should expect here. The next day in combat class, Brandon and another student named Borta are chosen to fight. Brandon immediately declares he is a pacifist and walks away. The teacher turns to Krog instead. Krog still feels uncertain. He doubts himself. Andrew steps forward and hands him a small pouch. Inside is puma urine. The moment the scent hits Krog's nose, something unlocks inside him. He transforms instantly, and even though Borta is significantly larger and heavier, Krog is faster, sharper, and fights with a ferocity that wins him the match cleanly. Dorian goes next and is immediately overwhelmed by the awful smell coming from his opponent. The cat turns and runs, giving up the fight entirely without throwing a single move. After class, Andrew approaches Krog privately. He tells Krog he was impressive and makes him a formal offer. He wants to be his mentor. To show he means it, he gives Krog the pouch of puma urine and tells him he sees a bright future ahead for him. Jeffrey watches all of this from across the yard. Seeing the school's biggest sponsor give special attention to the new student fills him with jealousy. He walks up to Krog and issues a challenge. If Krog can beat the wolves in a duel, he says, they will leave him alone permanently. That afternoon, Krog meets Holly and Brandon in the treehouse and tells them everything. Brandon is worried. He warns Krog that fighting outside of class could get him expelled. But Krog has been pushed around enough. He refuses to back down. Holly promises she will stand with him no matter what. Brandon, despite his nerves, quietly admits he can't wait to see the wolves finally get what they deserve. That night, the three of them sneak out of the dorms. Krog smells the pouch to trigger his transformation, and they head to the duel spot together. When they arrive, Krog asks which wolves he'll be fighting. That's when he understands it's a trap. Not two wolves waiting for him, but Jeffrey and his entire pack. Krog doesn't run. He holds his ground, but the wolves attack all at once, hitting him from every angle, piling on before he can find his footing. Seeing Krog overwhelmed, Holly makes a split-second decision and shoves Brandon off a nearby cliff, forcing him to leap down and join the fight. Brandon charges into the pack and creates chaos. In the end, they have no choice but to retreat. Jeffrey is defeated. The next morning, James notices several students in the school with injuries and sends them straight to the medical room. Their stories don't hold up. It's obvious there was a fight during the night. Just as Krog is expecting to be called to the principal's office, Andrew appears and invites him out for a drive instead. During the drive, Andrew already knows what happened. He tells Krog something uncomfortable but honest. A true puma should not have needed help against 4 wolves. Because Krog left his real family in the mountains too early, he never learned how to hunt properly. He never developed those instincts fully. So Andrew decides to fix that. He is going to teach Krog how to be a real predator. When they return to school, Lisa is waiting. She pulls Andrew aside and tells him firmly that giving Krog special treatment is not allowed. Then she turns to Krog directly. If he wants to stay at Clearwater, he follows the rules like everyone else. No fighting outside of class. No exceptions. Later, Krog follows a girl named Lou into the forest, and together they overhear teachers discussing the recent animal attacks happening in the area. The teachers are convinced that shapeshifters are responsible, and if humans ever discover the truth, that shapeshifters exist, the fragile peace between the two worlds will collapse completely. The school council is under enormous pressure to stop the attacks before that happens. On the way back, Krog tells Lou what he saw during his road trip to the school. He watched wolves attacking humans in a nearby town. He is certain it was Jeffrey's pack. The next day, Andrew takes Krog deep into the forest and teaches him how to hunt properly. Watch the prey. Study it. Wait for exactly the right moment. Then move. Krog follows every instruction and successfully brings down a deer. They sit together and share the meal in the forest. On the walk back, Andrew opens up unexpectedly. He once had a daughter, he says. She would have been around Krog's age if she had lived. He says nothing more, but the sadness in his voice says everything. Back at school, Lou notices Krog isn't touching his food at lunch. He tells her he already ate in the forest that morning. Something in those words makes Lou go very quiet. She stands up and walks away without saying anything. Krog doesn't understand at first. Then he finds out. A puma once attacked Lou's mother and left her seriously injured. The thought that he was out hunting that same morning clearly brought that memory back. Feeling terrible, Krog follows her into the forest to apologize. But she's too far ahead. He can't catch up. That night, howling outside his window pulls Krog out of sleep. He looks out and sees Jeffrey's pack moving through the dark toward the nearby town. He follows them quietly and watches them frighten away a security guard and slip inside a factory. Before Krog can confront them, the wolves turn on him. A fight is about to start, and then Andrew steps out of the shadows. He stops everything, orders the wolves into his car, and drives everyone back to campus. Then he asks Krog to stay behind. What Andrew tells him next breaks something inside Krog. Andrew admits that he is the one responsible for the animal attacks. He has been organizing them all along. Krog feels the ground shift under him. He trusted this man. Andrew speaks quietly and explains why. Years ago, his wife and young daughter were shot and killed by a hunter while they were in the forest in their animal forms. That grief never left him. He watched humans expand into wild spaces, destroy animal habitats, push species after species toward extinction. For 50 years, the school council tried peaceful methods, guiding humans, working with them slowly, hoping things would improve. Nothing changed. Everything got worse. So Andrew decided to act alone. He tells Krog he doesn't want anyone killed. He only wants to damage machines and slow down projects that are destroying the natural world. He invites Krog to join him. Krog refuses. He says he won't be part of anything that puts people in danger. Andrew nods. He tells Krog to think it carefully, and for now, he asks him to keep the secret between them. Krog agrees, but only for now. Everything changes one afternoon in the forest when a hunter's drone appears in the sky above Krog while he is practicing his transformation alone. Tracking dogs have already been released on the ground. Krog runs and climbs into the treetops, but the drone stays on him. A student named Wing destroys the drone to give Krog a chance to escape. He runs until he collapses completely from exhaustion. One of the crow girls, Shadow, finds him and throws him clothes so he can shift back to human form. His friends help him back toward the school. Just before he reaches campus, he faints. Andrew finds him and brings him to his house to rest. When Krog wakes up, he tells Andrew about the hunter, and then a dark thought hits him. What if the same thing that happened to Andrew's family had happened to his real family back in the mountains? What if hunters had found them too? That fear changes everything. Krog tells Andrew he is in. Andrew responds with something Krog never expected. He has already sent shapeshifters into the mountains to search for Krog's real family. If they are alive, he will find them. The mission takes them to a mining site deep in the forest. Andrew splits everyone up. Krog is supposed to chase animals away from the area so they aren't hurt. Jeffrey's wolves are supposed to drive the workers out safely. No one gets harmed. But then Krog's stomach drops. Hidden through the trees, he can see his adoptive parents' car. Anna and her family are camping nearby. They are right in the path of everything that is about to happen. He calls Andrew in a panic. Andrew tells him calmly that they are far enough away. They are safe. Krog doesn't believe it. The wolves chase the workers out. A man named Derek climbs into their truck and prepares to release a load of heavy logs from the back. Logs that would roll down the mountainside and directly into the valley where Krog's family is camped. Krog begs him to stop. Brandon and Holly arrive to back him up. Shadow and Wing appear overhead. The wolves, afraid of being reported and expelled, abandon the mission and disappear. But Derek doesn't stop. Lou tries to reason with him, telling him that destroying everything will only make things worse, that humans will fight back harder. Derek shoves her aside. The crows attack him immediately. Furious, Derek transforms into a massive grizzly bear. Brandon charges in to protect his friends. Holly fights beside him. Krog, in puma form, finds his moment and throws Derek out of the truck. Then Andrew steps in and removes the logs blocking the wheels himself. The truck begins to roll. The logs start falling. Krog stares at Andrew. This was the plan all along. He stops fighting and runs, full speed, down the mountain, pushing every muscle he has. The logs are already crashing and bouncing down the slope. Anna screams for everyone to get out of the way. Melody doesn't hear her. She has headphones on. She turns around only when it is already too late. At the very last second, Krog leaps forward in puma form and slams into Melody, throwing her clear of the logs. They crash into the earth beside her and keep rolling past. Anna runs to her daughter, sobbing with relief. Melody sits up, shaking, and says that a puma saved her life. Her father puts his arm around her and says she must be imagining it. A short distance away in the forest, Lou and the others find Krog lying unconscious in the grass. For one terrible moment, they think he is dead. Then the big cat opens his eyes. As soon as he can move, Krog goes to check on his family. Andrew appears, pretending he just arrived and had nothing to do with what happened. He calls a helicopter to take the family to the hospital. They all survive. The moment his family is safe, Krog turns on Andrew with everything he has. He tells him he is going to tell Lisa everything. Every detail about the attacks, about Andrew's plan, about all of it. Andrew responds with a quiet, devastating sentence. He has found Krog's real family in the Yellowstone Mountains. He will share their location, only if Krog stays silent. Lisa arrives before anything more can be said. Andrew calmly blames the entire operation on Derek and says he had no knowledge of what was planned. Lisa is not completely convinced, but police sirens are approaching in the distance. She leaves, promising a full investigation will follow. Back at school, Krog and his friends are treated like heroes. Word of what they did, how they protected people, how they stood against everything that night, has spread through the entire campus. Students celebrate them in the halls. But behind the cheers and the noise, Krog stands quietly and knows the truth. Andrew still has the location of his real family. The fight is far from over.